Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Old Lyme Economic Development Commission, April 5th, 2023. It is 5:31. We have present today myself, Cheryl Poirier, Mona Colwell, MJ DeRizio, Wendy Russell, Jean Wilczynski, John Stratton, Scott Smith. We're expecting Joe Camian at any time, and Terry Lewis is excused. Our first order of business, welcome, and is approval of the March 1st meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Mona, and Wendy seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the March 1st meeting minutes? Aye. Noes? Any noes? Any I was going to say extensions. Getting feisty at the beginning of the meeting. Okay. Thank you. All right. Communication with businesses. We're going to talk, and here we have Joe Camian. We're going to speak first about the mailing list because Mona Colwell needs to leave a little early. I'm going to pass around an early draft of a quarterly newsletter idea. It's based off of the graphic design of our little pamphlet that we have out. Some people have already seen that before the meeting started. So Mona and I have just been trying to work on building this way of communicating with our businesses. I've been writing the content. And Mona and I met on ways to distribute this. So did you have anything you wanted to add? I have some to-dos that I need to do.
Well, we're trying to figure out how to import our mailing list, the existing one that we used last summer, all of our emails into that Outlook that Cheryl uses for the EDC. She's having a little bit of trouble. Can't figure out if it's a town
like
issue,
a security
blocking
feature,
it, like a security feature, or if it's our inabilities. It could be.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Your maybe technical limitations.
That's right.
So, but then Cheryl was working on the copy, and I think it's so great. It's really great.
It's coming along, and we have an IT expert on our commission now. So, Scott Smith, would you be willing to help us figure out the Outlook as well?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Very nicely done.
And then I'm hoping we can do a combination of an email list and a Notify Me, which is that auto send component of the town website, and then we can just park these PDFs of these newsletters, and I'm sure we have enough printing budget that we could print out a few and leave them in different places, but we can park them on the EDC webpage on the town website.
And we, just so everybody, we all know, we're trying to find out too if there's a way through the town website to be able to collect information, if there's a way for them to register. So the QR code will either be linking them back to the town website or it'll be linking them to the Explore Old Lyme website.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a few ways to do this, but so we're continuing to work on this mailing list.
And we want to make it somewhat so it's timeless too, so it's not like a person is going to have to be going in and constantly trying to update and fix things.
Right. And so if we get the template down, it'll be easier in the future. Thank you, Mona, because I was writing a straight email, and Mona triggered my thought process by saying, let's have some graphic design that links into our other graphic design. And so that's how we've ended up with this early draft. So that was a good thought to make it a little more.
Goes with the Explore Old Lyme theme.
Mm-hmm. It's good. Yeah, so it's getting there. Okay, also, business updates. We had a really nice ribbon cutting for Pappy's Taqueria. Thank you, everyone. I think we all made it, right? Everyone here?
I did.
Oh, well, you missed a great fiesta.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the food was great.
Food was wonderful.
Yeah, they were very gracious they put out their samples all day long for all their customers. And the Day wrote a really wonderful article on itself, which I think will be quite helpful to them reaching the New London County area. And then Limeline wrote an article more geared toward the ribbon cutting. So that was really nice coverage.
When you get coverage like that from the Day, can you use that anywhere in our online, like what EDC has accomplished? I mean, I know Olin will do it repeatedly, but I think to get it in the Day is an eye catcher.
We can link to their article. I don't think we can reprint them. They have a lot of copyright issues and right to read and things like that. So we can look into that for sure. I'm also getting, Jean put me in contact with the owner of a Behavioral Approach, ABA. They are on 4 Davis
She's the one
Road.
that bought the blue building.
4 Davis Road.
Yes, I didn't know that was her official name. That's in my real estate report.
So, so we're talking to her about a ribbon cutting, and I'm going to send out, I just need to get a few dates from her. As you know, it's hard to get everyone on the same page, but it's likely to be maybe a 5 or 5:30 type time frame on a weekday as opposed to a weekend. I'm also talking to the regional, or I guess she's maybe a sales manager for Liquor Shop Old Line. That's their official name. This is the new liquor store at the Point of Woods entrance. And they have one other liquor store in Clinton called the Liquor Shop, and this is the Liquor Shop Old Line. So she took all of the information about the ribbon cutting, and she's talking to the owner about what might make sense. And I've been in touch with Scarpetta's, which is the pizza place. And much like Pappy's, their holdup is a hood. They are waiting for an exhaust hood.
Sapores, right?
Sapores, I'm sorry.
They used to be.
You are right.
Yeah, they haven't changed their name.
You know you're a county when you start saying, oh yeah, the place that used to be.
I know. I wrote it down.
Someone else.
Giuliano's.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Connecticut, I know.
Thank you for that, because I wrote it down. This doesn't look right, but Sapores is having
Right. Trouble with a hood.
supply chain issues, which is slowing down their opening, which is just heartbreaking. So we're going to stay in touch with them and give them a nice ribbon cutting when they reopen.
Well, I'm glad
Did you
that,
know there was a GoFundMe page?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have in town the owner of a sheet metal fabricating company, so I should probably try to connect them
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
if he's still in the business.
well, since there are signs down, I'm glad to hear that that isn't because of I was worried that they weren't going to reopen.
Me too.
You know, sometimes when the sign goes away, you're like, oh, there
Yeah.
goes that business.
Yeah.
So, good. Good to hear it.
Okay. Another item, we had talked in the fall about having some sort of a job fair in May for all these seasonal businesses that open and need to hire.
Yeah.
And of course, here's April, and I know we can't pull this off very quickly. So I'm wondering what you think about a virtual job fair, which is maybe we can ask our local businesses just for the beginning of the season. This wouldn't be a year-round job openings page at all, but just for maybe May into early June, we can put out the word in this newsletter and through the media or whatever that we're accepting links and information on Old Line businesses that are hiring.
So it'd be kind of a classified advertising of, call it a job fair, but I mention that because years ago, I think it might still exist, the business department at the high school was very interested in things like that. Not just we're looking for kids, but rather what kinds of things are available for kids? What should kids be looking for and at?
Right.
So just got to drop that in there too. So it is virtual in many areas, I think.
So what do we, and I have to apologize, I'm looking at the agenda and I realize I bounced ahead. My notes were all over the place. But we're still under communication with businesses.
Explain the virtual job fair again, kind of went
Sure.
in my
So-
brain, but didn't formulate.
If we got word out that we're having one page on our town website, on the EDC website, called Virtual Job Fair or something like that. And if you're hiring summer employees or even year-round employees, but mostly seasonal employees, send us information on what you're hiring, maybe a link to a job application or contact information or how to apply. And then on our EDC webpage, we can have on the left-hand side a link to Virtual Job Fair, I keep calling it, and then a listing of all the old line businesses that are hiring for the summer.
So there's no interactive anything.
Correct, because I just don't think we can pull that off, MJ.
I just wonder if you set aside a weekly time slot for that, and you had an employer who'd be willing to talk to the camera. Hi, I'm Tommy, Joe, Bob, and I own the kayak company, and I'm looking for, this, and this over the summer. Contact me, and they know it's up there every week at a certain refresh time.
It's a nice idea. Who's going to do that?
Right.
I think a job board format probably can work okay. Because it's like the old days, right? You read the newspaper to want
Yeah, that's why I said
help wanted.
classified ads.
Kids don't do that.
Well,
But the parents would.
and the other thing is, it's a starting place.
Right.
I mean, maybe, like Cheryl said, it's April.
Yeah.
We're just trying to do something
Yeah.
for this year that's
Yeah.
quick and easy.
Yeah.
And maybe then maybe even someone in the community runs with it after,
Right, in 2024.
What
Yeah.
I like is if we could get anything into a cycle. So
Yeah.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So like the Saturday after Easter becomes job fair day or something. And maybe do it at the library, and have a meet and greet for the businesses that are interested to come. Otherwise, it's kind of more of a job board thing.
Yeah.
Have a holiday one in the late fall.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah,
kids coming
yeah.
home. And in the fall, I mentioned it to the former social service director, and I think I mentioned it to LYSB. Social services was definitely interested in the concept. So, to your point, Jean, maybe we do it virtually this year, and then we at least build some knowledge and some contacts and do it next year in person.
Yeah, or however, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a little over a year ago, they hired somebody new at the high school who she's a woman in town, and she does, she's been setting up actual career days for people. So she would be somebody that we would definitely want to touch bases with too, because she already has all the business contacts.
That's great. That's a
Yeah.
really great idea. Could you send me her name?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Because paradoxically, we're burdened by tons of information, but if you were to say, geez, my kid is looking for a summer job, well, the kid has to go to individual places. And it'd be nice to have something, and why not have it come from us?
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a great idea.
And to Mona's point about, the high school and career placement,
Really good point.
I am a member of the American Society for Engineering Education, so I get all this educational news stuff. And it's interesting, but community colleges are seeing a shrinkage in enrollments.
Yes.
And that's really weird. So it's indicative to me that kids are maybe, parents and or kids are maybe trying to drive more of a figure out what you want before I'm going to reach in my pocket and pay for you to go to college, even for the ones that are not headed for 4-year major institutions. But I was shocked to see, I would have thought the opposite. I thought it'd be an expansion of enrollment.
I'm an adjunct in Waterbury, so I was shocked by that myself, because basically if you come out of high school in Connecticut, it's free.
It's free.
Wow, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
But there's also a decrease in the number of kids right now too. So we are in a down.
Perhaps that's part of it as well.
Actually, you're right, because I remember my kids were sort of at the peak, and it was supposed to drop. So
And it
this
will
year, there was
drop.
a larger increase in kids applying to college, but some of that was because there were kids that waited during
Waited
COVID.
for the delay,
Yeah, but
That misleadingly made it seem like there were more kids than there actually are for each cohort.
the number of kids will continue to decrease for at least another 5 or 6 years graduating.
It's an important trend to understand, so,
Yeah.
great.
And then it'll go up again, but then it'll go down because right now birth rates are down 20%.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, wow.
Because of
Always
the
cyclical.
pandemic. Well, when major economic downturns or anything bad happens, people stop having babies.
All right, so should I put together a virtual job fair
Yes, definitely.
Sure.
favor sort of thing? Okay. And Mona, you'll send me that high school?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I can look her up right now.
Okay.
I'd be interested in learning who that is too, because I know someone who does college counseling, and who was very involved in whether the kids could have jobs while they went to school.
Okay, great.
What does Mary Kleidner cut her group off at? Because I know that in the past few years, you can no longer go to her and say, Mary, I need somebody who will routinely shovel snow for these 4 people on this street, and nobody wants to do it. There's no high school age willing laborers out there.
I think it's because they just haven't been actively marketing to that age group.
That's what I'm asking. Is she
So LIS
she used to have
up to graduation. I don't know if they still have a job bank, though. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know about the job bank, but there definitely are programs for all the way up through high school at the Youth Service Bureau.
Right, but if you call and ask, she doesn't ever have anybody. That's been my experience, because
Yeah,
nobody's
and
enrolled.
I think kids are busy, and that's
Right.
not in their
Right,
timeline.
right.
of what
Just
they do.
asking.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where they're going to come from.
Yeah.
Okay, economic indicators, real estate update, MJ.
Okay, so I took a little different route this month, and I scanned this, and I'll send it out to everybody. We just got a big report that came out for the year in 2022, and pretty good lead on the first quarter of 23, and the key points about the real estate market everywhere in Connecticut, nationally: rising interest rates, inflationary pressures, a volatile stock market, changing levels of consumer discretionary spending have made all of this market very in flux. The biggest issue, of course, is the extremely low inventory level. To drive that point home, I ran a report today. In Old Lyme, there are 15 active listings
For residential.
for residential. They're split about 50-50 over and under $1 million. So over $1 million goes from $1 million to $8 million, but the bulk of and they're all selling if they're priced right. The average home price has declined 16.4% year to date, and 25% year over year. So that COVID pop is gone. We go back and compare it to more stable years like 2019 and prior, and everything looks a little better, but it's interesting to see how fluid the market is. There were 11 closed properties in the last 30 days. The average price was $685,000, so that would have been up by another 100 and some, or that 16% previously. But the days on market's about 45. Most of these contracts are with contingencies. The biggest ones, of course, being financing. People aren't coming with cash.
Does 45 seem like a long number of days to you, or a short
Oh,
number
no,
of
it
days?
seems short.
That's a short number
I
of
mean,
days,
that's
okay.
really,
Pretty
because
quick
the
if
banks
it's
have the
coming up with
capacity to do the
financing.
underwriting, because they don't have all these contracts coming across because there are no homes to sell.
Okay,
So that's pretty quick.
That does sound quick, actually.
Yeah. And then if they're really priced right, we have concrete evidence of like 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 people going to open houses. Still, it's ridiculous. At all price points, pretty much. If there is good news to interpret from all of these declines in the residential market, it is that this area and the shoreline has decreased far less than other areas throughout Connecticut.
oh, good.
So that's a good sign. And we still have the same low inventory as everybody else. That doesn't mean that the numbers are fabulous, but they are what they are. So, of course, you have that purchasing power instability, which is mortgage rates, and now they're looking at credit ratings dropping slightly too, because people now have more debt. And their cost of paying that debt has risen. So there is an unfavorable consumer confidence index in mortgages. Of course, there's no refi market, obviously, so it's all new business. There were 11 closed properties in the last 30 days, and the average price was $685,000. I might have said that. There are currently 21 properties under contract. 5 of them are over $1 million. The average list price is $815,000. We'll see what that winds up being once they close. It probably will go down. Commercial properties. There are 3 businesses for sale. The 83 Hartford Avenue, the yellow Beach Bums building, has been on the market for 706 days. I have tried to discern why, but I'm never going to get a straight answer. One could surmise that there are issues with the property itself, the price is too high, and there's no sewer movement at all over there, no pun intended. 100 Shore Road, the old silo has now almost a year been on the market, and she's had that price reduction, and it still hasn't moved. The 2-4 Bank Road, 262 days on market, the marina. I called the listing agent twice today, and it appears, according to what he says in the back end of MLS, that there's potential for residential use there. I'm not so sure of that, and I didn't think to call, what's his name, Eric, about it before 4, and it was late, and I said, no big deal, I'll see what I can get out of the agent first. So I can't confirm that there's any potential residential use there. It'd be nice if it stayed a marina, obviously. Spaces for lease. The little space that was left over after the liquor store went in.
Oh, yeah.
So that's on the market over at Point of Woods. It's a tiny little one-office place renovated.
So that means Grandma's isn't coming back.
I don't know who it is, and I called her too, the agent for that. But, we're busy. I can't tell you, how crazy it is with buyers and what's going on out there.
Okay.
So I can find that out.
She was in that space. That's what I'm saying. I think
Grandma's.
Grandma's.
Where the liquor shop went.
Yeah, and the little extra space.
Right, that little extra space they renovated. There's a really cute little picture of it on there.
Okay.
So, and then 57 4 Mile River Road, the Montezores building has a vacant space. And then there's a condo suite at the Blue Building on Halls Road, the Bico building, 50 days on market, that's now up for lease. And the average lease price is around $1,500 for all of them. I don't know how the economy is affecting people moving into spaces for any amount of money, but with the triple net, you've got to figure all the volatility in your utilities, your insurance, all that stuff. So I don't know the answer to that. But they're little $1,500 a month spaces. I don't think they're going to change the world. None of them are retail spaces, which of course you would expect never to have any movement whatsoever. I think that's why there's still vacancies over here. There's no discretionary money.
Yeah, it would be interesting to have a whole list of what open lease, for lease space we have? I know there's one space in the marketplace.
Right. There's actually, I think, 2.
Are there?
And then, of course, there
Is there anything at shopping center?
might be one on the
Andy's
second
Deli.
floor.
Yeah.
I know France Sablon expanded, but he doesn't even know what he's going to do with that space. So Vanessa's property, the ABA property over on Davis Road West, that was an off-market sale, so it was a private sale. She's moving out of a building that that person owns and moving into the other building that he just sold her for close to $1 million. And she's going to occupy the entire building. And it's a medical-related industry. That leaves her space open in the building she vacated, but there's another tenant there that has the right of first refusal. So we'll see how much organic growth there is, because obviously her business has grown for her to be able to do that. But whether that person who has the right of first refusal will exercise it or not will give us a little better hint. Just saying. And I'm very close to the deal because I have a skin in this game.
And then on Hatchetts Hill, at the beginning of Hatchetts Hill
Yes.
Road, it looks like there's leasers in that building that was empty forever. I drove by. I need to stop at some
I
point.
wonder if they're cleaning people or what. I've been told repeatedly. I mean, I would have this.
No, there's new
discussion-
signs up.
Oh, there are? Because
Yeah,
I had a
business
discussion
signs.
with Candace. There's nobody in that building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there are new business signs up there.
All right.
The
Well, that's interesting.
So which building is that?
At 4 Mile River and Hatchetts Hill, when you turn onto Hatchetts Hill,
Industrial
the
Park.
On the
first
left.
building on the left.
Are those properties that's there, are they administered by one single agency?
I'm sorry, which property?
At the industrial park area?
No, I
You
don't.
follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not just one source, they're individual parcels of land that are owned by individual.
Well, I think there's one owner, but how the transactions occur could be up to him. He doesn't always choose the same broker. He doesn't always advertise.
Used to be like
That's how
Mike,
they go with these commercial properties.
like Mike Leach used to be involved in a lot of that, but he's not.
Right, right. You don't know. I mean, like, it's this off-market deal. I know about it because I know the person that bought the building. She asked me. But,
I would love to have,
the commercial is an entirely different beast, and it's a real business-to-business model. So those people network, which is why a strong chamber would help us, and our relationship with them would help us tremendously. It's not a retail business.
I would love for us to figure out a way to have like a running inventory of space, either for sale or for lease, commercial. And I know it's kind of a patchwork quilt.
It is.
Things listed and then things that are just, you see a sign in the window and,
Part of the reason is the same as it would be on the residential side. We're all protective of our clients. So nobody wants to contribute to the pool unless it's public knowledge.
well, it would be because we're a town.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, this transaction over here, that's not public knowledge. The one that Vanessa bought the building over on Davis Road West. So that will never go on. You know, those are the kinds of things that are moving that you just have to keep your eyes and ears to the ground to, because all these other things you could look at being on the market for months and months and months and months and months. And there's no activity, and yet you see these other little things going on.
Yeah.
I just did another off-market deal for $1.6 million.
But I mean empty,
Nobody knew about it.
empty office space or empty retail space. I think it would be good for us to figure out a way to track that somehow. I don't know.
I'll
We'll
try
look
and-
more at
I'll
that.
talk to Susan Mallon. She does a lot of commercial, and she's got the space at Grandma. I call on her, so, and I work well with her, so we'll see what happens.
And then is the Gulf Station off-market?
I told you what I knew about that there were issues.
But did they take it off the market? Did we know that last?
There's no sign on it, but I could.
Oh, they took the sign off? I know they're fixing it up.
You have to pay
Was a sign, yeah. Go ahead.
money to get into the commercial MLS.
Yeah.
So I go in on the back end sneakily, and I don't get 100% of
Okay.
it. I mean, I get help with someone that has access, but I can't tap that person every single time
Yeah,
they
yeah.
need something.
All right. No, I'm looking for public information
And it's not, it's just,
yeah.
and if it is, it's sitting, and you can see it's sitting. That's why these deals that go on,
Well, the fact that it's being improved indicates there's something going on. You know,
Yes.
allegedly it's the
right.
resident across the way who's doing it.
Right. What would your goal be to know in advance what's vacant?
To have a general understanding of our own economic health or of the town in terms of commercial, you know, do we have a plethora of empty retail space or office space? How are we doing as an EDC? You know, we're not quite there yet, but how are we doing attracting businesses or, you know, helping our property owners fill space by just being a good town to do business in?
I would think the town's going to get their real estate taxes, whether it is vacant or full.
Well, but it's not a good look to have a lot of for lease
No,
signs, like
it's not.
especially when you drive down 156.
Right, it's not. But that's a whole other ball of wax, 156.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, we don't want,
Yeah, no, I get it. I just
verbalizing it very well,
And
but,
just in line
Yeah.
with that, the former Simpson Healthcare, right? What's happening to that?
Right.
It looks deserted,
Yes.
and it is really not if you go up and put your nose like on the glass windows, which I did last fall when I was delivering something from us. I see desks that look like the aliens had invaded and taken
Like
people away from
costumes.
the desks. And so where is everybody? There's nobody in the parking lot, yet the lights are on.
Right.
That's disturbing because that's a pretty hunky piece of property there.
yeah. Okay. I had spoken out of turn. Business updates. Oh, thank you, MJ. I meant to say thank you,
And everybody will
MJ.
get this.
Okay. Also, do you have a synopsis that we can share with Jen, our clerk, on
I
what you
can give
just
her that
said?
because it's home on my desktop, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Rather than give you all the stuff that went on the back end.
No, you put a lot of work into it, and I really do appreciate it.
No, it's what I do. I don't watch the commercial as much, but I'm always interested because I have a couple of commercial clients. But they're not looking here. We don't have a town center.
I mean, this is the kind of thing we should be thinking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
can't
So
change that.
speak to that.
We have no green.
Yeah.
We don't have a village, like East Lyme has Niantic as their village, even though there's a lot of property up in the Flanders area and spread out elsewhere. We're not Mystic by far.
Right.
We're not even Waterford, and they seem to have a lot of full strip malls. There's no room for any kind of density here. Builders want density. If you go to Saybrook, did you see how fast Atlas is putting up all those apartments near Pasta Vida? And they're all going to be gone. That's because there are sidewalks, so there will be sidewalks and people can walk to the Stop and Shop. They expanded the Main Street, the Post Road sidewalks a couple of years ago. There's a lot of walkability over there. So, yes, those places will fill up.
And they do music downtown and
Right.
things, they gather in that space.
So
It
to
is
feel like
important.
it wasn't even local, there was nothing here that would have satisfied that, nothing. So that's a problem, and there's no way to really change that. Even the Halls Road concept isn't going to still create the density that people want.
Still on it.
I didn't ask you to do anything.
You know, to
Joe's
walk.
phone is talking. But MJ, this is important for us to be able to think about for our economic development plan or whatever, you know.
I drove to Madison the other day to go to the bookstore.
Right.
All the way to Madison, and while I was there, I shopped.
Yeah.
So that's clearly a problem here, and I don't know how solvable it is. I think that there's more hope on the Gateway swath, where there's a little more of a clean slate than there is around here. I can't see where you'd squeeze anything in here. And developers won't do it unless they can make a profit.
Right.
It doesn't matter how.
And no one's making a
altruistic
profit
they are.
on anything right now, from what
Well-
I hear from people who are in development.
Maybe not the developers, but I can tell you, new construction is flying off the hook.
Residential.
Residential.
Yeah.
People are
Residential,
building
right.
like crazy. The materials are still the same.
The commercial, though, not.
Yeah, because there's nobody to fill the spaces.
Right.
It's a dilemma.
And then what's your talent pool for jobs? How far will they come?
That's the other thing, too.
So those are the macro factors,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about them all the time when specific properties come up in a meeting. But it's the same thing over and over again here. It differs in Essex, obviously, it differs in Saybrook, it differs in Madison, it differs even in Guilford, which has a wacky green, but it's still a green.
Right, right.
East Lyme. New London even doesn't have that problem. They have other problems. But it's true, they have a walkable business district.
Mm-hmm. Wendy, were you going to say something?
No, I just said people want a sense of community and they need a place to gather and get together, and we don't have that. Yeah, exactly what you said.
Somehow the Walls Road thing will eventually happen. Things happen slowly, unfortunately.
Well, we're going to get to that later in the
It would be a little
agenda.
baby step, but a step.
Okay, thank you. Business updates, that's the part that I got ahead of myself on. I already talked about Pappy's, a behavioral approach, liquor shop, Old Lyme, and Zapores.
Good job.
I'll include here, 250 Shore Road has gone before zoning. There was a public hearing at the last zoning commission meeting, and I think there's going to be a vote by the zoning commission this coming meeting, which typically the week after ours. And they want to put in storage units there. This is directly across from Sound and Country Real Estate.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll
And,
be another one.
Right. But large, like
High-
boats. Are you speaking about this in Shoreline Gateway?
I'm familiar a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm bringing it up because the residents surrounding that area are quite concerned
Very
about
concerned.
it.
I remember that.
And it is zoned commercial C30. So it's something,
What are they proposing?
large storage units. I think there's 3
Similar from
buildings.
the ones they,
There's a zoning meeting set for April 10th,
Oh, okay.
Which is Monday.
Monday, yeah.
which is Monday, which is relating to that. The address is 250 Shore Road, and there's talk about implementing a 1-year moratorium on developments.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of getting ahead of the horse.
Yeah, all right. We're going to
all over
come
the place.
let's hold on to that till your report. Very good. Okay. One last thing about business updates. There was an article in the day about Electric Boat and their building capacity and staff. And so, I mean, that could potentially be helpful, although we only have 15 houses on the market right now.
well, it would be helpful if we had a supplier that brought materials to ED. I mean, we've got an industrial park.
Right. Oh, and I'm just talking about population
I'm
growth.
talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah.
And that's what will drive the housing market. So,
Right. And Groton, it was an interesting article, at least the one I saw, I think it was in the day, could have been CT Examiner, but it was about
think it was
how
the day.
Town of Groton and City of Groton were really working to have these supplier commercial properties.
And to your point, Cheryl, of wanting to have a better feel for what's available in the way of like industrial park offices, the former Simpson Healthcare, whatever, it brings me back to going to the chamber meeting for Eastern Connecticut Chamber, where the engineering manager for the offshore wind, which is this whole debacle at the State Pier, as far as the staging of that, the guy is from the UK, and he's proficient in doing offshore wind, which is why he's on the job here. But he said he was shocked at how Connecticut, there is no point of contact, there's no go-to. There are vendors and suppliers to that industry that, they're completely, unfamiliar. So they're more prone to locate somewhere geographically less convenient, because this is like out of sight, out of mind.
That's what I had originally thought of when we started that project a while ago. It wasn't making the residents shop locally. It was trying to change the supply chain.
Maybe we need to advertise in, offshore wind today.
Engineering
to know
today,
what-
or commercial real estate
But what would
today.
you know what inventory we have?
Well, so
We don't
saying
know if we have property
Well,
available.
it really ought to be the realtors that are marketing properties. Maybe should be trying to figure out, where do I need to place some advertising?
Well,
We don't have any
I don't have
accommodations
any-
for anybody.
We don't have any.
If you wait for the phone to ring, it's not a good strategy.
I have a property in New Bedford, a hotel, and they're doing the wind project there. And so there's an influx of hundreds and thousands of people coming into the area. But we only have 2 hotels in the whole town. They're going all on the outside, but they're not going to come to an area like this because there's no accommodations for them. And there's just people every day coming in and out, all different kinds of...
See, I was thinking more along the lines of, a supplier who might be manufacturing in a factory in some other state. But
Right, but they need a place to stay.
they want a local, well, not only that, but a local presence to do business out of.
they want local electricians, local plumbers, local manufacturers of sheet metal and
Whatever.
scrap metals. and-
Or even, like, for example, an office space for their applications people to work out of, to provide the conduit to fill the order book. So,
They're building offshore housing as well, like out on the ocean somewhere too. And
So
that's how they're accommodating a lot of the people. It's just
they're like an
beginning.
oil rig. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing, like in
Exactly.
Texas. Yeah, we could do that.
So Wendy, does the Eastern Chamber do any advertising
For,
to attract businesses, either permanently or temporarily for long-term projects like this? Like, I would think for Old Lyme to do that, it would be frugal. We just, it would get us nowhere.
But also, what inventory do we have?
Well, I don't
we
think
don't
that
have any
matters
It
as much
does,
as
if there's
catching the attention of someone saying Southeastern Connecticut is ripe for whatever, and let them come to you. I bet you if you had somebody come in and say, I need housing for 50 people for the next 5 years, every single one of those little house people will sell their property to you.
where are they going to put their ships?
But
But they all have like big ships. A lot of them have,
we've got
and we need a port.
We've got New London.
Yeah.
We've got Bridgeport.
But New London is no longer a port for those kinds of ships, remember? Because that pier, the pier that was the pier for those ships, is now occupied by an as yet unfulfilled promise of putting together turbines.
We're just not set up for it in this area.
So there is no port for large
I just
ships.
don't. My point is, I don't
Correct.
think it's up to us.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it has to come at a bigger
complicated
level.
for a town to be doing something that's not really more regional.
some of it you can see coming a little bit too. For example, Amtrak, I was going to make note for new business, there's apparently now public info on the environmental impact report for the bridge replacement.
That was in the newspaper the other day, isn't that?
Yeah, so
legal ad.
I haven't had a chance to go and make inquiry, but we can apparently request the package. He'd probably give us a lot of insight as to what's going on.
Okay.
So I presume that it's public, but if not, then maybe, our board of select persons could request it, so we can at least get a window on what exactly is their specifics of their plan. Because it'll probably have drawings, locations, all of that in it. So I think
Interesting.
it'd be good for us to do that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, strategic planning process. We have money in our budget that gets carried over year after year for strategic planning, which would be based off of the economic development report that Advanced CT provided in 2020. I would love thoughts, ideas on how to proceed with this. I have a call into Courtney Hendrickson, who's no longer with Advanced CT. She's now the Economic Development Director for New Haven, Steve New Haven. But asking her advice on how to proceed.
So would the strategic planning process be just for us, or would we, I don't understand, like, we've done it before, but we keep coming back to the same black hole. I don't know where we get with it. Like, what's the goal of the strategic planning process this time around?
There's a master plan for Halls Road, which has had some hurdles. There, in some shape, way, or form, there'll be a master plan for Shoreline Gateway.
Right.
There should be some sort of plan for the whole of the town. And what I'd like to do is send you all a link to Saybrook's Economic Development Plan.
Okay.
It is, we want, I'll give you an example. We want more walkable commercial areas. No, or we want Halls Road to be more walkable. I'm making this up off the top of my head. And then it would have 3 or 4 tasks assigned to that.
Right.
Over the next so many years. So why don't I send that Saybrook plan out? I see that as a really nice plan. They have many more commercial areas than we do, obviously, but I think the goal is to keep our residential inventory at a, we want to keep people moving here, and we want to ensure that our commercial areas are vibrant and healthy.
Because my thoughts with the strategic plan, and I'm kind of repeating myself, but I still look at the Velvet Mill in Stonington, where the town built it, and it employed several hundred people.
100 years ago.
And so that's where strategic planning. And by the way, John, I have to give it back to you, but I read the resource materials that you printed off about Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, and oh my goodness, you look at that. But that actually was started by whatever university it was.
It was privately started.
Well, no, a university planted.
What I mean is it wasn't started as a government agency.
No. But what happened was they just happened.
We're going to circle back
Okay,
here.
we'll circle back to that. Okay.
Sorry.
That's right. But the other strategic planning is, kind of what I'm thinking is,
Right.
it's a little bit maybe of a, if you build it, they will come if you target correctly.
And we also have to think realistically about what the people of Old Lyme want or are willing to invest in. And, something I was sharing recently with others is that when you're downtown Niantic, when you're at the T of Main Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, there's that little green space. It used to be a dumpy gun. Well, how did that go from being a dumpy gas station to a green space? The town of East Lyme bought that property. Town meeting, people decided we're going to spend this much money to buy this property. And we have to be realistic about what the people of Old Lyme are going to want to spend their money on.
Part of that strategic planning is a little bit of a PR campaign. Because, for example, when the when the bars at Sound View went up for sale.
Right.
How could you not take the deal and just put it to an end and fix it? Similarly, I mean, I'll lament option J. You see all the discussion now about the school population. It was idiocy to maintain 3 elementary schools from a financial perspective. And I did the homework. From an educational perspective, the best performing schools in the state were like 630 student average. And, we have the Country Day School up in Lyme. We had Center School in Mile Creek. And option J, I advocated, let's replace Center and Lyme with a brand new school engineered to be state-of-the-art. And it wouldn't go. People wouldn't vote for it.
The PR campaign to preserve the Lyme School and Center School, which the school system turned upside down right away by making Center School not be the Center School that it once was, turning it into an administrative hub.
Well, it's now preschool.
Can we do a strategic plan without approval?
Yes, I know, but at the time, there was no...
Got it.
Because
Yep, no, I-
planning, MJ has a good question. I want to move on to MJ's question.
Can we proceed with a strategic
I wrote
plan
stuff for
without the approval of these 2 major projects and then whatever ones we don't even know about yet coming to fruition? Let's talk about the arts district thing that's walked away for a while. I just want to go back to our own planning commission, which I think was a major obstacle in the Halls Road, and I don't know who was maybe the gateway one, and I don't know who the obstacle was with the art overlay, but I think unless we have a good idea of a good confidence in moving forward with any of those things, then it would be really difficult for us to do a strategic plan unless we talk about something existing.
Okay, so
Can you apportion some of the money to Hartford Avenue, because they pay a lot of taxes over there, and that seems to be at a terrible standstill. I think they would appreciate a vibrant commercial district, and I don't see any reason why it couldn't be year-round.
I don't know if I agree. I mean, I've been trying to make Hartford Avenue get fixed for a
Well,
long,
let's
long
not
time.
get into the details on that right now.
I'm
I'm going to ask, but
conceptually.
what I want is to be sure the minutes reflect the question we're going to hold on to. We're going to look at Saybrook's plan, and then we're going to discuss including, can we plan when some projects are uncertain at this time? Thanks, John.
And I just, the question is, when this original planning was done that we're going to build on, did that not involve other groups in town hall and in the community, right? So sometimes what happens is, there's these plans and they're going to planning, then they're going to zoning, and it's like they don't all find the right way to get through all those different commissions that have different...
Well, they're not synchronized, you know that.
No,
And
it's a herding cat's exercise.
So
It's not easy.
It's difficult to have a plan if you have your plan, but then it requires approvals from all these other groups.
But you made a good first stab at that. We had all those commissions
Right,
come
that's what
together.
I'm saying, yeah.
And we do have, that economic development study has, I think, 9 key points, like,
Right, I have to go back at it again. I should know if I
outdoor
Right.
recreation,
Right,
things
yeah.
like that. And those all did get into the POCD, so the Plan of Conservation and Development. So it's a good start. And maybe what we do is we take those 9 items and say, okay, what kind of steps can we begin to take to achieve these 9 action items?
Yeah, that's a good...
Well, I would look and see who your key constituents are that you need to bring on board first. And that doesn't necessarily have to be another board and commission. It
Right.
could be a major stakeholder with property, or a business, or the academy, or the inn,
Right, yeah.
We need to talk to them in a roundtable discussion arena,
Yeah.
because then we're just becoming another silo.
Right, because
Right.
honestly, strategic plan should include
Right. All your
stakeholders besides the commission itself, yeah.
So it would be good for us to get some advice on how to wrangle this, because it's,
Well, I think maybe we should just think about who those stakeholders are and invite them to a small meeting and say, this is where we've been in the past, where we are now, and where do you want to see it go, kind of thing, and see what they say. Then we'll have a little more under it.
But if I may say, these organizations are sometimes competitive with one another. So let us say we would like to have a policy regarding the restaurants et al. Connected with our arts organizations, or even the now defunct Carla's, part of an arts organization, or the independent Chocolate Shell. These are all people that are competitive with one another, or the ice cream place, competitive with one another, and they don't necessarily, they're looking for the historic district to just grant them approval.
I don't think we should assume, though, that we've got to tackle their individual obstacles. I think what we're trying to do is get a collaborative, concentrated voice of where everybody wants to move ahead.
I agree. I was not suggesting that we solve their immediate problems.
And we shouldn't worry about
a policy which would enable them to flourish. And right now it does not.
As an example of that kind of collaboration, right? Let's say the restaurant venues.
Yes.
Anything that's a draw. The Audubon Society that took over the Bee and Thistle, right? Nature, like bird watchers, birders. All of our green space, our hiking trails, right? Kayaking, bicycling. The arts, people coming for the arts, right? What is the stones in the cemetery now where the slaves are buried? I'm just saying, historical, right?
Yeah.
Could we get the restaurant crowd to buy in coming up with ideas
Absolutely.
On, right? How do we,
yeah.
Because they all win. The rising tide would lift all boats kind of thing.
So these are all good strategies to discuss, but I don't want to discuss them right now because they're a whole conversation in themselves.
Yeah, that's part of the planning process.
Yeah. And it's a really good point, Joe. It's just we could really consume ourselves with that whole conversation right now.
I'll see if I can make
So I'm going to send out that Saybrook, Saybrook
That's
report.
a good starting point.
Okay, great. Marketing promotion, Eastern Regional Tourism District. Wendy.
Well, basically, we granted 15 awards for the grants. Black Hall was one of them, which was great to see. So we got a little bit there. The state released a new website. I think it's out. This was March 5th or something, March 6th or whatever. So, and I didn't get a chance to look at it. They're working on rebranding Eastern Connecticut area, and that's kind of what I'm hearing here. I think we need to figure out what our brand is kind of in Old Lyme and build awareness on that. I think we're all over the board. Everybody wants here, there, and everywhere. I'm in the hotel business, and that's all we do is build brand awareness on everything we do. Not that we have a brand, but maybe we do need something that we call our own and we identify by, and figure out who we appeal to, but that's just kind of coming from, marketing.
Yeah.
But they did determine through some research and everything that people at this time are looking for experiences rather than a destination. So that changes the way you kind of market as well. Everybody's very highly visual on content. They're looking for somebody to create their vacation or, like a tourism ambassador, if you will. So we're creating different tours and ideas for people to come to the area. So you might have one, all churches or all universities or all art places and, you know, where they are. And so it'll all be on the website as ideas. And then, you know, of course, there'll be destinations as well. So that's how the state is looking at things now. And we're kind of doing the same thing for our area.
Okay. And the new website is the Eastern Connecticut website?
No, the state.
Is it CT Visit? Like
Yes.
upgrade
Mhm.
it? Okay, yeah. And then how does Eastern Connecticut, do they still have a landing page?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
still within the Mystic area, but we're going to have our own little Eastern. They just wanted. I personally did not agree with it because I think Mystic has a very strong brand, and that brings people to Connecticut.
Right.
And whether they come here, you know, they're coming to Connecticut, and we could draw them here. You know, that's been the brand for years and years and years. But it got voted down mostly for people in the quiet corner and such, you know, in the more rural areas that feel they're not getting their fair, you know, share of what's going on. Yeah, so Quinn and Harry is working on rebranding us. So we'll be doing that going forward. And that's about it, really. Not too much else.
Okay. Question. I think that what she just told us was extremely valuable, that whole experience versus destination.
Yes.
Is there any way for us to convey that on the economic development website that, you know, dear business owners or whoever you may be, the trends are, however you want to promote that concept to our own people, that might be a little value added for them. You know, like the ice cream shop has a legacy. The kayak place has all the inlets and whatever. That's an experience versus a destination. So maybe if there's something we could publish that gave us value added, it would endear us to our business community.
So
Maybe.
this little item has space still,
Yeah.
and maybe we can do a little box, MJ, like quick tip
Yep.
on marketing your business.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Right. But that's a gem to know. I mean, the fact that it's going to filter downward or upward, depending on your point of view, is important. It gives us some cohesiveness and a sense of belonging to a bigger brand.
True.
Great. And it actually, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. It feeds, that concept actually feeds into the next item, which is the professional photography that we have funded through the ARPA funds, and I want to say we have $1,500 for professional photography, which isn't a lot, but I think we could break it up a little bit. We have wonderful photographers in town who take beautiful landscape photographs and flowers and gardens and all, but we need professional photographers who are good with people. So, and it's to the experiences thing. We need a family on the carousel. We need someone, you know, a family getting ice cream. We need people hiking. We like these activity type photographs.
These stills are video.
That's another thing. We could do like a drone or some video. The video, I'm a little mixed on because it takes more time for a website to load if there's video on it. So I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Cox and all are very short, you know, they have to be
An
people.
example of where like a video could be powerful, because I like to go kayaking, so my wife and I will go out and we'll be in various bodies of water around here. But when in the summer, you'll see a flotilla of people renting from Blackwall Outfitters, you know, out in the Blackwall River, and, you know, on stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, right? And like a drone shot of that with the Blackwall. Wow.
They're doing a fantastic job, Black Hall, of marketing their place. You'll see it on the website. You'll see it. They've really made a good presence.
There's an example of where we could help foster, you know, more economic.
Can
But
we
even
put
if-
that on our job board?
Yeah.
Well, that's, so I can identify a couple of tourism type or excellent photographers of people, what I keep saying of people, it's very different to get a good shot if you're lining up
believe me.
models or whatever, you know.
I know, I do it all day.
But they're not Old Lyme residents, the ones I know, they're local,
Right.
but they're not Old Lyme residents. So I think we need to think about,
Well, why don't you throw it up on the job board?
And
Like,
another
right
thing
away.
too is like, speaking of experiences, we might want to consider pairing with other areas. So you mentioned the carousel. Are there other carousels in the state? There's a carousel museum. Like, can you pair with other towns and make it a part of a trip? And that's what people, I think,
I know that's
Connecticut's so small.
Connecticut, right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and maybe you kayak here, but maybe there's another place they can go and kayak for another day. You know, they're not going to kayak every day.
Have a riding.
Yeah.
Okay, one voice at a time.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Like that.
You were finishing up what you were saying.
Yeah, no.
Something
Yeah.
like a carousel trail would be.
Yeah, well, they're doing ice cream trails
Yeah.
and things like that, but,
How do we
you know,
suggest to them something?
I don't know, it's almost like a full-time job.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah.
That is the problem, you know,
Go
but...
to Bristol.
But if we call to the people that we think that we can work with, like you were saying, at a round table, you know, maybe we can get them to work with us and they could take the lead and we can help them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
I remember learning how the dinosaur trail happened,
Yeah.
and it included Montville and
Right.
State Park and and it was a very time-consuming process
Yeah.
on that collaboration.
It's not something you can
But
do.
you could ask
Put it in
all
our-
those people to give you a photograph with defined specifications that are, you know, camera ready. People know what that is today. You know, we won't take low resolution stuff, you know, we want this, we want that. You have to agree to sign the rights over to us, whatever.
Yeah,
And
they
just
signed
ask them
their
and say, we're promoting.
And I could feed it to the tourism board as well if we have it, they can take it and run with it too.
But it's people and experiences rather than landscapes.
Right.
Well, landscapes, you can ask the Essex Savings Bank if they have any overruns on their calendar pictures.
Yeah, well, we have wonderful
We have
photographers in town.
excellent things available, but defining what we want before we open the doors is important.
But if we sit and come up with ideas, I can feed it to the tourism board and let them do some of the footwork.
Oh, okay.
If it's worth their while.
Right, okay. Oh, that's great, okay.
Do they have anything like that in concept?
And they
now?
actually have a photographer too, that they would be willing to come out and take pictures if it's something that draws interest.
And the ERTD would own the photos. Okay. All right, that's great. And Midsummer Festival is always a good one. We've invited them.
Are there other
that
festivals
path.
at the same time too, you know?
Oh, ours draws.
Well, we've already given them they've already, I think they've included that.
Okay. All right. All right, great.
I'm excited.
Okay, economic revitalization efforts, Shoreline Gateway, Joe.
So the past meeting, because we had invited the Planning Commission and the Land Use Coordinator and so on to come to the prior meeting, the discussion was kind of taking stock of what we learned from hearing them out. And one thing that seemed pretty universal that our Land Use Coordinator came off as very can't do, and I suggested the poor guy might be shell-shocked. Because, for example, like trying to enforce a blight ordinance, precipitating, a Hatfield and McCoy kind of condition between neighbors and not wanting to get in the thick of that. Harold Thompson, the planning chair, requested a mission statement as a proactive step for Shoreline Gateway. What is your mission statement? And kind of along those lines, the library had done a strategic plan of all things. So the library strategic plan incorporated a mission statement. So I've got to take a look at that and see what it is and how that might help us. In addition to looking at the Saybrook plan as much prior art as we can easily get our hands on is useful. So mission statement is something that the committee will be doing. Mike Foliano was not able to make it, but he was very concerned about trying to include affordable housing as part of the mission statement. That's Mike's pursuit right now, which, again, it's a component, and it's listening to input from our townspeople. The boat storage building, wow, that's a shocker. 16-foot high doors, not the roof. 16 foot, my guess, is probably approaching the peak of this space. So talk about profound, ugly, industrial-looking stuff. So the discussion turned into there'll be a zoning meeting, and there's going to be a lot of people calling for a moratorium on such development in the Gateway area until we get some kind of control over what's going on.
Less people, mostly from the beach community.
Yes. And hand in glove with that, the gas station, I thought everybody knew this, but the gas station was in fact purchased by a resident directly across Shore Road who got tired of the ugliness. However, the new owner is encountering, a Sisyphean labor of working with the town as far as regs on making improvements, which, Tim Griswold is pretty good about, come see me. So hopefully we can get the word that go talk to Tim Griswold and see what because, it shouldn't be. You got this ugly thing that this guy, I don't know, had the wherewithal to buy the place, but,
So there's an example.
Yes.
How would I know?
Well, but neither here nor there. What's important is that there's something happening with it.
And the town should help the movement. Now, from what I gather, again, this is pure hearsay, but there's a bunch of buried tires in the back part of that property.
I'm shocked, yes.
I know, it's shocking. But you know what?
It's been there for years.
I did some homework. You know what it costs to dispose of tires? It's like $3 a piece. Enough already. The town should send a backhoe. The town should send a backhoe, dig them up, dump them in a truck, pay the $2.
Yeah, that's challenging though, because maybe there's if they've been there a long time, there's other issues.
Environmental issues there, that's the
They've
problem.
traded, so then it's
So that's
more than just tires.
That's for the new owner to sort out.
Right, but you can also move ahead by saying, if you provide the 12 inches of such and such gravel, you do not have to dig underground and fix anything. That has been done. I could cite cases.
Okay.
Boatyards have been revived and allowed to continue.
But I forewarn you, that's a state issue. It hasn't anything to do with
No, but
the
the greater point is, you're right, John, there's been brownfields that have been remediated simply because if you make it so ownrous, nothing happens. The so-called Superfund sites and all this. And, this to me, I don't think there's anything terrible there. It's going to be tires and probably petroleum residuals from lube oil or whatever.
Yeah. So that's for the new owner.
Right.
The important point is that it's been sold.
It's been sold,
Yeah.
and the town, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, to our commission, the town should help the new buyer.
Yeah,
Should help
okay.
the person.
Now, have you had another meeting since the one with all the sisters?
Yes, we held our most recent meeting on
Okay.
March 16th. So this is
Okay.
kind of discussion
Oh, okay,
in the
gotcha.
aftermath of having all the invited parties.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank No, the owner of the Kokomo's property, is looking to add parking at the former arcade property.
Yes.
So that's pretty much the gist of it.
I can speak a little bit to that informally, having talked to the son of one of the owners of the El Morocco property and the other unusable parking property next to that, publicly unusable.
Right.
Very briefly, John, because this is a zoning issue, not an EDC issue.
Well, it's an EDC issue. If we say we want to have more people come to the beach and use it, and then zoning says no, then it becomes an issue for us.
They've already had the public hearing.
Well,
I don't know.
So go ahead. I wanted to amplify
Yes,
rather
yes.
than to...
To kind of close out the discussion, the blight ordinances were talked about quite a bit. So I volunteered to investigate comparable town blight ordinances, because that seems to be a touchy thing, and we'll see what I can find. Because, I'm supportive of a blight ordinance. And again, the land use coordinator had said that, look, there's two cases. There's the abandoned commercial stuff, which is just about money, and then there's the residentials, which in most cases is, somebody's troubled. I mean, it's a mental health issue as to why it's blighted. So I'm going to see what I come up with, and that was my assignment for coming away from there.
And has anyone pulled up the blight ordinance that was drafted in 2017 or 2018?
I'd like to see it.
Yeah,
Where is it?
Probably the town clerk has it, I
Is
assume.
it enacted?
No, because we don't have a blight officer. They didn't want to spend the money for a blight officer.
They came across the same issues as you're going to come across. They're so worried about that Hatfield McCoy thing and how we define blight and
Well, that all happened
trash. Yeah, I know, but it didn't get resolved because they couldn't.
because they didn't want to spend money on a blight officer. That was the reason it didn't go forward. Yeah.
And it sounds like if you want to advertise for a blight officer, nobody's going to apply.
Well, when we started doing code enforcement in Bristol several years ago,
Okay.
yeah, we had to send police officers with them.
I was,
Exactly.
Yeah,
not going to recall that from another town. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, because the mayor at the time was starting to demolish buildings. So he would take your house down if you didn't fix it. And so then that got people, like, So that calmed down a little bit, but we still have a whole code enforcement commission that handles all that stuff. But it's a bigger town.
But there's probably some basis there to look at.
Yeah, I can send you the ordinance.
Could
We
you?
have
Yeah.
a extensive blight ordinance.
I'd like to see it, because I was going to look at also the more upscale towns, like I'm sure Greenwich has one. We'll see what that one is.
And look at small towns.
Yeah, no, I know it has to be benchmarked as small.
Yeah.
But I figure at least let's look at what exists and then see where we go from there.
There was also, I'm going to jump ahead and speak to this House bill. There was an article in CT Examiner this past Sunday.
You sent that link.
Yeah, about a blight, a House bill regarding blight and being able to take over properties. If people just pay the fee. That House bill, it ended up being for towns of more than 15,000 people, but Martha Marks is one of the authors of that bill. So, anyway, it does not relate to us. People have been asking about it. It does not relate to us because we don't have a blight ordinance. So it only matters if you have a blight ordinance.
But you do not want to create a town-wide homeowners association which will determine the length of the grass that will be cut.
Well, one person's
Yes.
dumpy lawn is
exactly.
another
That's
person's
exactly
pollinator pathway, so.
We send actually public works out to cut people's grass and charge them for it.
I never heard that.
Put liens on houses.
Quote that.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult here.
Okay, anything else on Shoreline Gateway?
That's all I've got.
All right, you guys are busy. Halls Road, you may have heard that the zoning commission defeated
Yep,
the proposal going forward. My understanding is that the Halls Road Improvement Committee is looking at the things brought up by zoning and by planning. They're going back to the drawing board. I mean, not with a blank slate, but they're looking at what the problems were that were brought up. Some had to do with communication and people not understanding what some of the Halls Road plan was, but others were concerns that the committee is going to address, and so they are not done. They're still moving forward, trying to get that passed. Okay,
What happened to the Arts Overlay District? Is it just tabled for now, or?
I did not stay for the end of the zoning commission meeting last time, but they are creating their own, the zoning commission is creating their own zone for those 4 properties. Chamber of Commerce, Jean?
Sure, I'll give a quick update. So or rather than calling ourselves the board of directors, since most of our terms are up, we're a transition team. So the plan to dissolve the Lime Old Lime Chamber of Commerce is moving forward. We actually have an event on the 26th of April, and anyone who had been a previous chamber member or business owner for whom we had contact information will be receiving a letter probably this week and an email if contact information is available. April 26th, there's a Bridging Businesses event in the, I think it's 5 o'clock. You can find the actual letter, so I have the specifics. 5 to 7, and it's going to be at the Essex Savings Bank Sotheby's location, and it's an after-hours reception, free to Lime and Old Lime business people, to celebrate the many years of having a chamber in our community, and also to present an opportunity to join the Old Saybrook Chamber. And the director, the paid executive director, will be there. One of the biggest challenges, as you know, for a volunteer chamber is finding enough volunteers to actually be a vibrant organization. With paid staff, the Old Saybrook Chamber is really a good option. They have a lot of opportunities, a lot of programming, and they have committed to retaining the scholarship program that the Lime and Old Lime Chamber has supported for many years for an arts and a business student each year from our communities. So anyway, that's the plan. Is
That was at Essex Savings where? In Saybrook or here?
No, here.
At the corner of Paul's
Okay,
Road.
well, it's this
Yeah.
way. No.
So I
Yeah.
said Essex Savings Bank and Sotheby's, right?
Oh,
right on the
I didn't
corner.
hear the word Sotheby's.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. So,
And if you were a past individual member of the Lime Old Lime Chamber, you are getting this letter,
Yeah.
and it's all,
yes,
it says free to businesses, but,
yes, if you were
also
a
to
chamber,
individual
any
members.
chamber member,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct.
So there were a couple of things that were being maintained. One was the scholarship program is
Correct.
being maintained. There's also a seat on.
Yes, there'll be a seat for a chamber member from Lime or Old Lime on the board of directors of the Old Saybrook Chamber. And they're also offering 17 months for the price of 12 for the new members who are joining the Old Saybrook Chamber. So, and there is
their fee?
so for a business of 1 to 49 employees, the fee is the annual membership is $240. It's $180 for a nonprofit organization, and then there's a community member level that's $120. So a little more than our $50, but I think you end up actually getting a lot more benefit for that. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of programming.
And I know there was some talk about being committed to having certain activities here in Old Lime.
Right. So they do a business after hours, they do morning activities, and they would commit to doing a couple a year probably in our community. So depending on businesses that are willing to host and that sort of thing. So
Can we join as a committee?
That is something, the
That-
EDC
yeah,
can join.
I think you could.
Yeah,
I
the
think
Saybrook
you could.
EDC join. We can vote on that right now. And is there a motion for the EDC to be a member of the Old Saybrook Chamber of Commerce?
I'll put that forth.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Against? We do, yep, and abstentions. All right, so when the sign-ups start, I'll sign up the EDC. I know the Saybrook EDC is also a member, so it would be good for us to be a member. Okay. Great. Anything else, Jean?
No, that's
Really
really
great.
it.
So you're going to be our liaison? Do we get to vote on that? How does that happen?
Oh, yeah. We could
For
figure
what?
that out.
To do what?
For the EDC?
I mean, somebody from here will get a seat.
Jean, you're already in the chamber, so
I am already a member of
Yeah, we'll
the
figure out how that
Multi-State
works.
Chamber, right?
I think if a company or an organization is a member, anyone, I'll find out what their rules are, but
Right.
you should be able
so
to attend
my-
events.
My understanding as a person who's been in the as long as the entity pays their membership fee, anyone can attend any of the events.
Yeah, so that's great.
Oh, that's very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, great. I already spoke about that blight ordinance, House bill. The May meeting is that first Wednesday in May, which is something like May 3rd, I want to say.
that
May
sounds
3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out of town,
May
and I cannot call in at 5:30 because I'll be at a meeting. So I'm thinking I can just write up a little director's report to send in to you all. And if someone wants to run the meeting, we could have you run the meeting. Someone will have to run the meeting. Terry's not here, so if no one steps forward, we'll appoint Terry.
Oh my God, she's gonna appoint her at her second meeting.
Right. Well, she runs the Harbor Management Commission meeting, so, but anyway, if anyone is interested in running that May meeting, I would welcome it,
I will be on a plane.
okay?
So maybe we won't even have a quorum at the rate we're going.
Let's check on that. I hate to cancel a regular meeting and plan a special meeting, but, does anyone else know that they're not able to attend May 3rd at this point? So far, Cheryl and Wendy.
Well, I might be prepping for Cinco de Mayo 2 days later, but that's
But that doesn't seem like a good excuse, MJ.
Oh, you don't know.
You can start at 7:30 p.m.
Just getting up to speed, you know?
All right, well, we'll have some communications by email during the month. Did I cut you off, Scott? Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll have some conversations by email before then and figure out if we have a quorum and if you want to proceed or if we want to reschedule that meeting, which would be canceling our regular meeting and scheduling a special meeting.
Did we ever elect a vice chair? Didn't we talk about
You all
that?
decided not
think we
to.
decided not to.
Oh, good. Good.
Good.
I
Good,
didn't
she
want-
said.
I didn't want the
Okay.
vice chair to feel like we slighted.
No, I definitely looked to make sure I wasn't overlooking something. I don't know if we have anyone on the line. Do we have any public comment? Hearing no public comment, I will look for, is there any other additional business? I'm sorry, I did not have that on here.
One minor thing that I saw, I don't know if it was the river cog, but there's apparently alternative transportation development funding. I don't know if we could have some of that fund its way to Old Lyme. It was some kind of a grant that was channeled through the state to the regions. I saw it, I forget where I read it.
Like bus depots or something?
No. I think it was more like, bike
Oh.
paths, that kind of stuff, I think. That's why it's kind of on my radar.
Can you find out more about
I'll see
it?
what I can find, but it was,
Okay.
I thought it was RiverCog,
Okay.
but there's, funds that are being allocated and made available to the towns.
Do you know why there are cones out on 156 by the little, by the bridge over the Lieutenant River?
No.
I don't.
There are tall cones, like not typical cones.
They're not
skinny
usual
ones.
trains.
Right, the ones you see down the median strip when they start lane shifting and stuff. There is a good swath of them up today. And it's over the bridge, so I didn't know if there was going to be any bridge work done there or if that had to do with the railroad.
It might have to do with the railroad. Yeah, I don't know. The bike, we're very good at suggesting to the Board of Selectmen that they have committees. And I feel like the next committee that needs to be created is a walking, biking committee. Just intersection of people who can think about how do we make this a more walkable, bikeable town.
Didn't we get funds at one point, several years ago, to explore a walking trail or bike trail along some town road somewhere here?
Well, no, the Connecticut Riverway Trail, I did get grant funding.
Yeah.
No, but I thought that you were thinking about 156.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
something
Not
involved with the
by the
156
beach.
down
Well,
to
it was,
Hartford.
MJ,
Wait, I thought we got money.
That was part of Soundview.
Yeah.
That was part of
It
Soundview.
extended from Soundview westward and up roughly to the Black Hall.
And the biggest challenge is that it's not a town road.
But, you know, informally or
Okay.
formally.
But we got the money, though. Didn't we get money to look at that?
I think it was
I
state
think they-
DOT money.
Pardon me?
I think it was state DOT money, and I think
Oh,
it dovetailed.
That's okay.
It did dovetail with the Soundview work.
Yeah.
Soundview work.
And one of the problems,
On the
you could just-
paper.
one of the problems was the bridge over Black Hall. That was a problem for
Yeah.
building the bike lane.
Not sure.
That's yours.
I'm just passing around.
Oh, pass it around.
Thank you, John, for printing out this.
I-
Photo?
I would add, a friend of mine once, this is not strictly anecdotal, was apprehended by the state police for riding his bicycle over the Connecticut Walden Bridge, before the new bridge, so-called new bridge. And my friend, who was very punctilious about these things, said, this is the only way that I can get my bicycle over the bridge, and pointed out a statute which says if the next bridge is 20 miles away, this bridge will have access. Of course, the walkway was about 1.5 feet wide, and it was quite exciting to ride a bicycle looking down 90 feet instead of the top. But the cop let him go, and he wrote a long letter to the editor, and then he took an Oline police officer along the debris-strewn bicycle trails that adjoin our secondary roads here, and said, is this what you want bicyclists to ride on? And it became a moot point, because it would have been a huge public works project, you know. But the point is, they can make rules, but there are counter rules too.
Good. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Made the motion, MJ and then Joe.
You just said it.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. Again?
Here's a regular guy.
Abstentions? Thank you very much.